Good day, guys. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. So today we are going to learn how to sew this Igbo trad blouse. Just stay tuned and enjoy. So this is the material we are going to be using for this tutorial. So I will cut out this design. I will trace it out. You can cut with scissors and you can cut with your soldering iron. So I've done that, and this is how it looks like. This is the beaded part. So I will use it round the shoulder after sewing the blouse. So I will just keep it aside and cut out the blouse. So I'll cut on the lining first. I've added my hair stay to the lining. This is, you will need about 1 yard of lining. So I will divide the 1 yard by into two, use half for the front and then use the other half for the back. So after dividing it, I'll fold it into two. I'm cutting this thing for a slim bride, so I don't need much. So I folded it into two, then arrange it. Now the blouse is an off-shoulder blouse. So according to her, she said that she wants the off-shoulder to be about 6 inches down. So I'll measure 6 inches down. Then from there, I'll continue to, this is 6 inches. But I will measure 5.5 because I will use 5 ½ inch to join. So I'll place my 5.5 here. Measure the full length of the blouse first. That's the first thing I'll measure. Blouse. So the full length of the blouse is 25 inches plus 2 inches for seam allowance, 27 inches. So I'm marking 7 inches and I'll rule it. So I'm done ruling my line. The next is to go on and measure my bust point. I'll still place my 5.5 here. Then from there, her bust point is 10 inches. I'll measure 10 inches. Under bust, 13 inches. I'll mark 13 inches. Her waist, 17 inches. I'll mark 17 inches. So I'll go ahead and rule these lines till the end. I'll rule the bust, under busts, then I'll rule the waistline. You can use 16 inches for your waistline. I used 17 here. So this is the bust, under bust, and the waistline. This is the full length of the blouse. So I'll go ahead and measure. Her nipple to nipple is 8 inches divided by 2, 4 inches. So I'll mark exactly that 4 inches at the shoulder. This is our off shoulder. I'll mark the 4 inches at the shoulder. Then her nipple to nipple, her bust point, I'll measure 4.5. At the under bust, I'll measure 4. Remember, 4.5 at the bust point, 4 inches at the under bust, and 4 inches at the waistline. So I want my blouse to have just a little flare to look free at the down part. So I'll mark 5 inches at the down part. The next thing is to go ahead and connect all these lines. So I'll connect from my shoulder to my bust point, from my bust point to my under bust, and from my under bust to my waistline, then from my waistline to where I marked the flare for the center piece. I use 5 inches. You can use 6 inches if you want to. So The next thing is to cut our breast cut. So I'll minus 2.5 inch, 2.5 inch at the under bust. I'll mark 2.5 inch from the under bust to the other side. I'll repeat the same at the waistline, 2.5 inch. You can use 3 if the person is busty, but this client is not busty, so I use 2.5. Sometimes I use 2. So I'll connect the lines. Then I'll come to the shoulder. I will mark 2 inches at the shoulder. You can mark 2.5 inch at the shoulder if you want, but I marked 2 inches so that my cup will not look too sharp or too pointy. So I'll connect from the 2 inches I marked to my bust points. Then from my bust point, I'll connect to the under bust. So you can see it's taking a shape of a breast cut already. So as you can see, this is pointy and we don't want it to be pointy. You can use your hand, freehand sketching, and curve it so that it will look curved as a breast cut, so that your padding will not look pointy, so that it won't look pointy. So I'm done curving. You can use your French curve to do this, but if you don't have, just do it like this. Then I'll connect from this waistline back to the point where I marked my initial flip for the centerpiece. So after connecting, this is how it will look like after connecting. So I'll go ahead and cut out the centerpiece first. Make sure you cut on the line. So after cutting, I will notch my underbust so that you know where to stop the length of the pad of your padding. When you're going to cut your padding, the padding will stop at the underbust. So I'll go ahead and cut out this place now so that the shape of my breast cup will come out. So this is how it looks like. I'll go ahead and place the centerpiece to cover the cup, only the cup. You see, you stop at this point. This is, make sure it's aligned, make sure they're together, make sure they align. So I'll go ahead and take my full body measurements. Her bust is 35 divided by 4, 8.5 plus 2 inches, 10 points. Not 8.7 plus 2 inches, 10.7. 2 inches is for the seam allowance. Then the waist is 30 divided by 4 is 7.5 plus 2 inches for seam allowance, 9.5. So you go ahead and mark. I'll go ahead and mark 9 points. I'll mark it on the waistline, not at the underbust. I'll mark it at the waistline. So I'll go ahead and measure my shoulder. So the measurement of the shoulder will be 13. You know, our shoulder is not always complete. It starts from one armpit and stops at the other armpit. So I measure that her own is 13. 13 divided by 2 is 7.5 plus 1 inch is 6.5 plus 1 inch, 7.5. So from there, I'll measure 7.5 inch for her armhole. This is 7.5 inch. Then I'll curve my armhole. We have the armhole now. So I'll go ahead and connect these lines. So from the waistline, you will now measure how you want your fleet look like, how you want it to look like. So mine will stop at this point now. You can measure if you want to, but mine I did not measure. I just assume that I want it to be there. So from this point, you will measure like 2 inches or 1.5 inch upwards. Then from there, you curve it so that your blouse will not look pointy. So we just curve, and I'll go ahead and cut out. So I did not, if you notice, I did not add any style to the neckline because the neckline will be straight. It will be straight throughout. That is where you will add your applique. The design we cut out from the material. It will go around your shoulder. So I did not add any design to the neckline. So this is for the back piece, and I've measured out 2 inches for my zip allowance. So the back does not have any breast cuts. I'll just mark 17 inches to mark the waist. I'll measure 17 inches from the shoulder, and I will draw my line. So from this point where I mark these 17 inches, I will measure 4.5 for the darts. I will measure 4.5 from the shoulder down to this point where I marked 17 inches. So from here, you draw your line upwards. The dart will be straight. So I'll go ahead and measure 5 inches at the down part of the blouse in order to add a fish look to my blouse at the back. So I'll connect the line from that point to the waist. So I'll cut it out. So for the side piece, you just place the side piece for the front on the back. Just cut out exactly the shape that you have for the front, except for the breast cuts. You see how I cut the breast cuts. So when you want to cut the breast cuts, let me place it like, you just fold back your cup so that the darts will be straight. So you don't have to go on and be measuring or taking your measurements again. Just cut it out like this. When you remove the front side piece, this is what you will have for the back. So the next thing is to cut out exactly what I have on my lining on the main material, on the main fabric. The reason why we cut on the lining is to avoid mistakes, because this fabric is not big. So that any mistake that you have, you can correct it easily on your lining before transferring to the main fabric. So I will be cutting out each piece on this fabric. I'm cutting the center piece for the front. After cutting, I'll place it aside. I'll go ahead and fold my fabric again for the center piece for the back. This is the center piece for the back. Know that whenever you are cutting, your fabric will be on fold to avoid mistakes. So I'm done with this center piece for the back. I'll fold again and cut the side piece for the front. The fabric is mostly sometimes it comes in 1.5 yards, sometimes it will come as a yard only, but I forgot to measure this one, so I don't know how many yards this one is actually. So I'll manipulate the one for the side piece for the back. I'll cut it out one by one so that I can manage the fabric. It is not enough to fold. So I'm cutting out for one side, and after cutting for this side, I'll place it on the other side and front to front, the front side to the front side before I cut to avoid mistake. So this is what I have now. I'll go ahead and do that. So the next thing is to cut exactly what you have on your lining and on your fabric on the doll face. Sometimes you can measure on the doll face, but me, I prefer to measure on my lining. I prefer to cut on my lining first. Then after the lining, you can cut on your doll face before the fabric. But this time around, I'm cutting on the doll face last, and I will use my lining to cut on this doll face. If you like, you can add estate to your doll face. If you don't like, you can leave it like that. So I'll go ahead and cut exactly what I have on my lining on my doll face. I've cut for the center piece for the front. Just make sure that your cutting is nice and neat, and make sure they are all equal. So I'll go ahead and cut for the back. I'll cut for the center piece and the side piece, by side pieces for the back. So I'll go ahead and cut. I'm cutting the zip allowance. Now remember that your zip allowance will always be open at the back so that you can insert your zip at the center. So I'm done cutting for the center pieces, and I'll go ahead and cut for the side pieces for the back. So I'm done cutting for the side. So let's go ahead and cut the sleeve. I'll use this doll face for the sleeve. So for the sleeve, remember that our round shoulder is 38 inches. I have a slim bride, like I told you, she's slim. So her round shoulder is 38. The actual shoulder, from one side of the armpit to the other. Remember how off shoulder looks like. Then after shoulder, is 13 inches. You measure. For some people it might be 12, for some people it might be up to 14, but I think 13 will give you what you want. So 13 times 2, the reason why I multiplied it by 2 is 13 for the front shoulder and 13 for the back shoulder. You can also do it as 13 plus 13 to give you 26. That is the shoulder for the front and shoulder for the back. So to get your sleeve measurement, you subtract 26 from 38. That is 38 minus 26. You subtract your actual shoulder from your round shoulder, you have 12. So this 12 is for two sleeves, remember. So you go ahead and divide it by 2. When you divide 12 by 2, you get 6 inches. The 2 is for two sleeves, you get 6 inches each. So this means that the length of each sleeve will be 6 inches. So 6 inches is the actual measurement that we are going to be using for our sleeve. 3 inches for the front, 3 inches for the back. So this is what we are going to be using to cut out our sleeve. So remember, the sleeve is 6 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. This is 6 inches divided by 2, 3. 3 for the front, 3 for the back. So I'll go ahead and add 1 inch for seam allowance. That is 7 inches. So I'll first of all fold my fabric like this and fold again. Now remember, the sleeve will be very, very small. It will be very, very small. So I'll go ahead and mark 3.5. I normally add another 1 inch. So I'll mark 4 or 4.5 in case he needs amendments. So the length of our sleeve will be 3 inches. So our sleeve circumference is 6 inches, no? 3 inches for the front, 3 inches for the back. Then the length is 3 inches. So this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and cut another one for the back, for the other side. Remember, I would turn my, so I'll use having and turn. So this is the end. Subscribe and wait for the sewing part. Thank you guys.